Hey, welcome to Practical Music Theory. In this video, we're going to talk about how to build chords. Now, we're going to start off in the key of C major, which is the key that has no sharps and no flats, and its scale is all the white notes on the piano. So those notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And that is a C major scale. Now, chords are two or more notes played at the same time. And usually those notes are the first, the third, and the fifth, which I will now mark in red. Great. So, if I take the first, the third, and the fifth, which are C, E, and G, and I play all three of them at the same time, I'll play a C major chord, which sounds like this. Now, there are many different ways that I can notate that. I can write just C, because if there's nothing next to it, it's implied that that chord is a major chord. Or I can write capital C, capital M, which means C major. Now, there are many different types of chords. There's a major chord, a minor chord, an augmented chord, and a diminished chord. And so we're going to talk briefly about what needs to change in this chord to make each quality. Now, what's cool is for any type of C chord, the notes are always going to be the same. It's always some kind of C, some kind of E, and some kind of G. And so what we're going to do before we go into a C minor chord is we're going to talk about a C augmented chord. And all we have to do to go from C major to C augmented is I take this top note and I raise it by 1/2 step. So now I have C, E, and G sharp, which I notate as a C augmented chord, one of usually two ways. I can write always capital C plus, that means C augmented, or I could write C and then either capital or lowercase AUG, which means C augmented. And it sounds like this. Now, another type of chord quality, or way that it sounds, could be a C minor chord, which, like both C major and C augmented, has some kind of C, some kind of E, and some kind of G. Now, to go from C major to C minor, instead of changing this top note, or the fifth, I need to change this middle note, or the third. And what I need to do is lower it by 1/2 step. So it will go C, E flat, G. To write that in notation, I have a couple of different options. The first thing I can do is C lowercase m. That means C minor. Or I could write C capital M I N. That's another one, C minor. Or, particularly in modern notation or jazz notation, I could write C minus. All of these are very different ways to write essentially the same thing. And a C minor chord sounds like this. Great. The last thing that I can do to a 3-note chord, or a triad, is I have, again, some kind of C, some kind of E, and some kind of G. Now, if I want the other kind, which is a C diminished chord, I need to lower the third note to E flat and lower the fifth note or the top note to G flat, or which is also F sharp. Now, how I can write this is I have a couple of different ways. The first way I can write it is C, and it's like a little O in the top. That's one option, like a C in a degree sign. Another option I have is C DIM, which is another way you could see it. Now, in jazz notation, what you sometimes see is a C minor chord. So I'll write C M-I-N, that's C minor. And then they write flat 5. Now, what I'd like to point out is if you look at C major and C augmented, you have two of the same notes. You have C natural and E natural. Those two are the same. Similarly, with C minor to C diminished, which I'm going to write diminished there, you have C natural and E flat and C natural and E flat. The only thing that changes going from C minor to C diminished is the fifth, or the top note of the chord. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and label things one more time. This is the first one, or I can write 1. This is the third one, so I'll write 3. This is the fifth note. I'll write 5. So we always have 1, 3, and 5. Now, the last thing I'll just mention briefly, but we'll not talk about in this video, is that chords can have more than just 3 pitches. Sometimes they could have 4. Sometimes they could have 5. Sometimes they could have even more than that. And there's a lot of different types of chords. But one last option you always have for every chord is you can take this bottom note, the root or the 1, and you can put it also up an octave. And that does not change the quality. So now I'd like for you to listen to all the different chords and how they sound. Here, starting with the C major chord. Perfect. Now, the last thing I'd like to talk about in this video is called inversion. Now, inversion really just refers to taking the bottom note of a chord and putting it up 1 octave. Just to keep it simple, I'm going to remove this top note, which is a C, just to show you. Okay, so let's take our C major chord. Now, what I'm going to do is put it in first inversion, meaning I take the bottom note and I put it up 1 octave, so this bottom C to this higher C. Now, it's the same chord, but it's going to sound just slightly different. Listen to the difference. I'm going to remove this chord symbol. It affects how MuseScore plays it. Here, listen one more time. That's strange. It's playing the wrong thing. Here we go, one more time. Here we go, C in first inversion. Okay. The second thing I'd like to talk about is inversion. Now, all that inversion really is you take the bottom note of a chord and you move it up by 1 octave. Now, I'm going to keep this stuff up top, but I'm going to rewrite the chord. So here's our original C major chord, C, E, and G. That's a C major chord. Okay, so the next thing that I'd like to talk about is inversion. Now, let's look at this first chord, C major. I've already gone and written it right here. It's the same chord spelled, meaning in the same order, the same way. Now, if I take this C here and I put it up 1 octave, that is first inversion. I take the bottom note and I put it up an octave. Notice the difference in how they sound. Here's a C major chord in root position, meaning as it normally is. Here's that same chord in first inversion. Now, with 3 notes, I have what's also called second inversion, where I take both the bottom and that second note and put both of these up an octave. So I take this C, put it up an octave, that's first inversion. I take this E and I put it up an octave, and I call that second inversion. So here's just a C major chord. Here's C in first inversion. And here's C in second inversion. Notice how second and first inversion, it's the same chord, but it sounds less stable. That's important, and we'll talk about that at a different time. Now, the same thing is true for all the other kinds of chords, meaning the qualities, whether that's C augmented, C minor, C diminished. Now, in modern notation, usually we refer to this as C over E. And what we mean by over is it's the lowest sounding pitch. And I would write that like this, C over, or C slash E. And it's the same thing with this next chord right here, where I say it's C, because the chord is the same 3 notes, but the lowest sounding pitch is now G. So I say C over G. All right, just to demonstrate one more thing, and to sort of reiterate inversion, let's look at C augmented. Okay. Our notes for a C augmented chord are C natural, E natural, and G sharp. Now, that is root position. If I want for this to go in first inversion, I take this bottom note and put it up 1 octave. And I can call this C augmented, or C plus, C augmented over E. Notice how that's different from just C augmented. Now, if I would like to have the same chord, but over now second inversion, meaning I put it over G sharp, I have C on my bottom, I have C, E, and I have G sharp. But I'm going to take these bottom two notes, take these bottom two notes and put it up one octave. And now I have C augmented over G sharp, or G hashtag. And that is simply how to play chords and inversions. Now, for all other chords, all you have to do is think about what is the major key, or what is the minor key, and what is the first note of that scale, the third note of that scale, and the fifth note of that scale. And to demonstrate that, let's choose another key. Let's choose G major. Now, G major, we know, has one sharp. And that one sharp that it has is F sharp. So I'm going to go and pull the key signature for that. Okay, the key signature for G major is one sharp. And the scale of a G major scale is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, because the one sharp is F sharp, G. All right, I'm going to put that down one octave. Okay, I know that I need the first, the third, and the fifth in order to get my triad. So let's label that. Here we go. 1, 3, and 5. Now, to make a G major chord, I just simply put G, B, and D, which I can write in that octave. Let's label it first, G major. Or I can put it in a higher octave. Either way, these chords are the exact same thing. All right, now I would like to make a G augmented chord. So all I do is the same thing, right? And I take this top note and I raise it by 1/2 step to D sharp. And that is G augmented. Now, if I go back to my G major chord and I want to make this a G minor chord, all I have to do is get this middle note and lower it by 1/2 step. And change this. It's G minor. And then lastly, to go from G minor to G diminished, I take this top note, or the fifth, and I lower it by 1/2 step. And that is G diminished. And that is how to build and how to play every chord and a little bit about inversion.